This is Saurabh, and you're listening to my favorite talk show, The Weekly Show with Aditya.
This is episode 145 on the 20th of December 2019. If there is one thing the Indian T20 domestic championship has shown up is that it's all about money, that individuals are happy to be bought and sold for a certain amount, that these individuals, sports person, are ready to let their guard down, are ready to be called as commodity who can be bought and sold by individuals' whims and fancies, and nobody seems to mind it because these players earn for a living, and it also shows that their respective countries don't give them the amount they deserve, so they have to throng to the shores of India to fill their purse and continue live a life in the lap of luxury which these sports person claim they deserve. And there is one more thing. The Indian T20 Domestic Championship, also called as the IPL, by virtue of this, show their bullying nature that no other 20 over domestic championship in any part of the world, in any other country, is important. Yes, this tournament is not the only 20 over tournament that is played across the globe, but because it has Indian players, because the amount involved is humongous, the glamour involved is beyond one's thought process, therefore it gets the attention it deserves. But in terms of quality, I would say that it is at number 3 in terms of tournaments being played across the world. Not many would know that there is the BBL, the Big Bash League, the Australian version of this particular tournament. But why is it not being publicized so much? Because no Indian player is allowed to participate in this particular tournament. Even the retired ones don't come for it because the board's policies, rather the bullying tactics, that if you play for these teams or franchisees, even if you are a retired player, we will not give you the required NOC, the no objection certificate, because we don't want our own tournament to be diluted by other tournaments. But in terms of its sheer quality and magnanimity, the BBL is at number 1 at any point in time. Would I want to see the likes of Suresh Raina, Yuvraj Singh, MS Dhoni, who are semi-retired or not in favor of the team? Yuvraj is retired, but the other two are not in favor of the national team right now. Should they play this Big Bash League or the West Indies T20 tournament, that is the Caribbean Premier League? Yes, they should. Just like this year's WWE draft, where the executives of the TV channels on which these two brands are broadcasted were involved in the drafting of the players. Here also, the owners or the team management are involved deeply in the drafting of the players, despite their knowledge or no knowledge about the sport itself. So they keep analysts and they have coaches who have performed well for other teams, or they make coaches out of players who have played for this team for a long time. So it's all about associations and relationships which are being built, and to show the world that we are ready to spend any amount to take a certain player, and it becomes a sort of a tug of war. Eventually, this particular tournament is a business. It's not about the sport, but about the outside factors, that how much teams are willing to spend on a particular player, and what kind of pressure the player is under in when they are selected by these respective teams that they have to fulfill the amount they have been bought for, and if they do not, then it is seen as the waste of money. This is not the only domestic championship tournament in the country. You have tournaments like Ranji Trophy and others, but we do not even know if the players get any money or they are even given any kind of remuneration and respect in these tournaments. There is a flip side to being brought or being selected for such a huge amount of money. If 17, 18-year-olds are brought for such exorbitant amounts, means they probably never have to earn again. So even though they do understand the value of money, they could be caught in spot fixing or match fixing allegations and may never recover, or the lure of money might make them complacent and they may not perform for their respective teams as consistently as they are supposed to. So while yes, you are earning money because you deserve it, but still you cannot just dole out money and not expect the individual not to be affected by it. Now, what is going to happen is that with this tournament being organized every year between April and June, the board will make sure, the Indian Cricket Board will make sure that all the players who are supposed to appear for their respective national team will not do so. They will have such a contract with other players that the other boards will be forced to tinker with their respective teams' lineup. So it has happened in the past that whenever a player is required to go back for national duty, they have left, and they should continue to do this and not be affected by the bullying nature of the Indian Cricket Board. Other domestic tournaments eventually become an audition for these players for the big one, as the big one has been labeled as the Indian T20 domestic tournament. But in terms of quality and in terms of the way the actual sport is played and the attention is not diverted by non-essential personnel like the team owners and others, this is exactly the place where the Indian 20 domestic over championship loses its sheen. And this is where they need to improve on. Why only one sport is being glamorized so much? Why not the Indian Hockey League being brought back in the same manner? And why not the same individuals who are putting their money or emptying their treasury to buy and sell players? Why can't they have the same attitude towards the hockey tournaments or any other tournaments? Why can't a PV Sindhu or any other top player, hockey player like Manpreet Singh and others be brought and sold for 15, 16 crores? Why are we putting our eggs in one basket? On one hand, we say that there is too much of cricket in the country. There is no respect for other sports. On the other hand, by such activities, we are showing that we are only going to put the onus on cricket. So there is a double standard when it comes to our glamorizing one sport and then insulting the other. With Olympics just 8 months away, will these individuals who bought and sold players for exorbitant amounts, will they be ready to open their treasury and give money to athletes or give money to the respective government organization that yes, you have support from us for the athletes so that they can perform well at the Olympics? Well, this is one thing which is going to take some time. It's all in the psyche, and for some abnormal reason, cricket has always taken the major chunk of the pie. And we continue to harbor on this misconception that individuals or ordinary citizens love cricket. And what's common about most players, they come from small towns, modest backgrounds, and will eventually become a rags to riches story, but will the lure of money affect that psyche in terms of playing the sport as the sport should be played, or will it make them careless about things in general? That is one thing we will know over the years. Come November and the panic starts setting in most parts of the world as the winter arrives. Though in those countries the panic is to be understood. But why are we panicky about winters in states like Delhi? One uses this ludicrous term Dilli ki sardi to describe the emotions associated and the impact of winters that Delhi has on individuals. But like any other thing, Delhi doesn't have winter of its own. It's affected by external factors, and just because it has been overcast for the last week or so, it doesn't mean that winters are setting in. Yes, there is a chill in the air, but that's more in our mind than in our bodies. We allow our mind to be affected by this pseudo winter situation, and then we feel the cold in our minds and bodies, and then we have to show to the world that we are feeling it. It doesn't mean that one has to catch a cold or suffer through this traumatic period, but it's not exactly chilly, it's just in the head. Yes, one can feel the shivers, but then that's how winters are supposed to be. But does it snow in Delhi? No. Snow is the real indication of winters, while this is nothing more than an illusion. Temperatures dropping to 8 degrees Celsius is nothing compared to temperatures in the negative all around the globe, especially areas like Arctic Circle and the mountainous regions. And then by some logic, we associate everything with climate change. If in summers temperatures are as high as 45 degrees and in winters temperature fall to 6 degrees Celsius, everything is blamed on climate change. The ignorant attitude of individuals towards the environment and the administration's apathy towards policies as usual. The romance associated with this particular weather perplexes me, but being nostalgic is what separates humans from animals as well as artificial intelligence. There is nothing new about winters, and yet every year we as individuals panic. Why? Because that's how we treat things, even if we know about them. We know that every year from November till March, winters are going to take over, temperatures are going to drop, and yet when they come, we pretend to be caught unawares and then pretend to enjoy the facade of Dilli ki Sardi. How many hours should an individual sleep? 8 hours a day or more or less? Contemporary times, everything is linked to the modern day lifestyle. So if you eat too much of junk food, then you're stressed. Junk food leads to stress. Or if you are stressed, you have junk food. Or if you are stressed, then you sleep longer. Or if you are under pressure, then you sleep for shorter duration. That means that everything and everyone is suffering from this modern day lifestyle epidemic, and this has also seeped into one's sleep habits, and sleep habits differ from individual to individual. If you are a student, then you are expected to burn the midnight oil, especially in this part of the world where you are supposed to study, mug up things, and even if you are studying for understanding the concept, burning the midnight oil is part of the package that comes with being a student. And if you do not burn the midnight oil, then your student life is often called a waste. Every individual has a different biological clock. For students, studying between the hours of 12 a.m. and 3 p.m. is not only compulsory but a way of their life that defines their future. And for individuals, that job also defines whether how many hours will they sleep. With flexible hours becoming part of one's schedule and individuals working for global units all over the world. For example, if you are working and if you have a client in another part of the world where the time duration is different, then the sleep habits will differ. One can take an example such as if you have clients in USA and you're working in India, then the 12 and a half hour difference or the 13 and a half hour difference during winters doesn't allow you to sleep during the normal hours. Yes, jet lag is a different concept, but with such difference in time, one's sleep time and sleep pattern will change. And can one blame an individual for doing this? No. Eventually, everyone has to earn their living. Since everything is linked to productivity in the contemporary times, sleep deprivation affects one's productivity, attention, and other factors. For how many hours a day should an individual sleep? Well, that's not something that is universal apart from those situations where one has to alter their sleeping habits according to their work or if one is a student. In the commonality of being an individual who sleeps at 10 p.m., what is the solution to avoid sleep deprivation? The first thing is switch off all your gadgets around 10 p.m. and don't use them after that. Then what should one do if one still feels awake and is not in the mood to sleep, yet an individual is also not in the mood to look at one's gadget? Then the best thing is, and this does not become a universal rule, and situations depend from individual to individual. If an individual has a normal work day where they are not students or are not affected by the external factors, then the best thing to do is, especially if one is not feeling sleepy, read books or do some puzzle, but keep away from your gadgets. In the modern digital world, being away from gadget might seem as a shocking idea, but if one wants a healthy sleep, then the best solution is to keep away from gadgets and read books. When I say read books, it means read the physical books. And then the question comes, what kind of a book should an individual read? Reading a certain genre does not affect one's mindset. That if an individual reads a book which for its title may not seem as a very positive one, well, it is irrelevant what kind of genre you read as long as the book one reads doesn't affect your sleeping patterns. Then there also comes the question of taking afternoon siesta. It's a very thin line. Should one or one not take an afternoon siesta? And there is no concrete answer to the same. Depending on one's work schedule, afternoon siesta has to be scheduled according to that. And most often for an individual, afternoon siesta comes by default and design, and even if we haven't done anything productive during the day, where we have been grinded to stone when it comes to physical and cognitive application, afternoon siesta cannot be avoided and it comes naturally. Though what the afternoon siesta does is that then we are not able to sleep on time during the night. It affects our sleep pattern. But then this is one debate which has not brought out any concrete answers, nor does anybody have any set answers for the same. One's sleep pattern is individualistic and not universal. Sleep deprivations, sleep pattern, burning the midnight oil are not novel concepts. They did not spring up just a few years earlier. They have been there ever since civilization was formed, but the current setup has been such that there is a need for experts to bring everything into the umbrella of modern day lifestyle and say that generations ago everything was peachy and now everything is patchy. This generational attitude and to make one generation as the example for current generations or future generations is where humans lose logic and tend to divert towards the emotional and sentimental side of things.
This is Saurabh, and you're listening to my favorite talk show, The Weekly Show with Aditya.
This was episode 145 on the 20th of December 2019. Stay tuned for the next episode. Please send your valuable suggestions through your comments and audio recording to the email ID adityatherewriter@gmail.com. You can also like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and Facebook page and stay tuned for the next episode.